Hello, friends. Oh, gosh. I guess it always helps to put a mic on, doesn't it? Oh, wow. Hello, friends. It has been a harrowing couple of days. Um, so I'm sorry. I missed you last night. Typically, we have Monday night kind of an open discussion. I was driving home last night when if we would have had a Monday night at 8 o'clock, I was driving home. We received a phone call. Um, gosh, Saturday morning that Helen's youngest sister was in the. Oh, I misspoke. Prepper, didn't I? That her younger sister was in ICU and had been taken to the hospital by ambulance. Was in ICU, and so we kind of went up there Saturday to be with her and find out what was going on and everything else. And then once again Sunday after mass, we went back up there, and then yesterday we were going to get up there early, but something happened and we just didn't do it. And then at 7:30, oh, I know why we didn't do it, because I was scheduled for pain management at the hospital at 8 o'clock. And hello, KP Heathen. So because I had the doctor's appointment, we didn't go up there early. And then just as I was getting ready to go to the doctor's appointment, I got a phone call, two phone calls. My phone got a phone call saying that the doctor was sick, the pain management doctor was sick. And so could we reschedule for next week? And I said, yeah, I guess so. And Helen got a phone call that her sister had passed away. So at 7:30 yesterday morning, her sister passed away. And so we drove back up there yesterday and spent all day yesterday getting the funeral arrangements and everything else handled. And the funeral will be this coming Friday. So I have not put out a soup video short for since I believe Friday was the last one I did. I did not do anything last night, and so please forgive me. We have other things going on right now. I guess one of the things that I should be honored with is that the family has asked me to do the service. So um, I take that as a great honor, and so I've got to do a little bit of research and make sure I in my mind I have a verse in Revelation that I want to do. I'm thinking about Revelation 21. Um, and so use that as the basis of the discussion, and then uh, go from there, because this was I was probably the person of all the in-laws. I was probably the one she was closest to, and just she was I loved her because she laughed at my dad jokes and she understood my puns. So we got along extremely well, and she thought I was funny. So I had to repay the compliment. But she was a great person, and we will definitely miss her. So please bear with me this week as we go through this family. Uh, what would we call it? Um, Adjustment. There we go. Um, and the what she died of was extremely excruciatingly painful, and so I'm so happy right now that she is relieved of that pain, that she is better off where she is, and that things will come as they will. So I think she's in a better place. But and she was rather young. She was what, 5 years younger than I am. So she was like, no, no, no. She was 7 years younger than I am. So she was 64. So relatively young age, But that's where it is. Okay, so now let's get into where we are tonight. And let me see, Diana 2, Jean Sen, ABC Patriot, welcome. Lisa B, welcome. Little Lone Prepper, welcome. Gosh, great people. Thank you. 9 of you already. So we're going to do 2 more chapters. We've only got these 2 chapters in this book, and then another 2 next week, and then we'll be done with this book. So we've got this week and next week, and then we'll be done with David Kobler's book. This is Southern Prepper 1's book. So David Kobler, Southern Prepper 1, same person. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do for next next one, I'm thinking about doing situational awareness. It's a great book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm in kind of going through it, and it looks like it'd be a great book for us to discuss about how do you become situationally aware of when it's time to bug out, how to take care of your family, how to set up a defense perimeter and stuff like that. I'm also thinking about another book. I've got a couple. I will try to put something out here by next week, and then we'll take a week off where we'll have just a general discussion about books in general. In between, I will give you at least 1 week to order the book and to read it before we actually get into the discussion of it. So I'm sorry I don't have a book decided upon for tonight. That would give us plenty of time to get that done. But I'll have it for you definitely next week. So let's talk about chapter 7 and chapter 8 of David Kobler's book, United We Stand. He has a co-author of J.D. Dutra, and a fantastic little book, chock full of information, just chock full of information. So tonight we're going to be talking about two chapters, chapter 7 and chapter 8. Chapter 7's title is Organizing and Participating in Local Events, and chapter 8 is The Digital Age of Emergency Preparedness. So chapter 7, he has at least three full pages of events that you can get involved with that usually happen on a local basis, how you can get there, meet people who are like-minded with you, different things you can do. Check out your disaster services for your city or your county. Check out your state disaster services. You can also check into CERT, and then there are other variations of CERT or civil defense or FEMA. There are several different websites like Eventbrite and Meetup, where you can check and see if there are groups that are meeting that you might want to visit with one or two of them. There's one group here in the greater Austin area, and I signed up and said, yeah, I want to go. So I went, and I was the only person there at the restaurant for that time. And then I went to another one, and I went to a McDonald's at a certain time, and I was the only person there. And so sometimes these events, what they'll do is they'll have a meetup or something, and they'll meet once or twice. Nobody shows up. They kind of discard it, and then it still shows up on Eventbrite or Meetup or something like that. And you go and you're the only person there. There was a guy up in Georgetown, and he was having a luncheon. I believe it was on Wednesdays, a preparedness luncheon. So I went once, and I was the only person there. Then I got the invitation the next week, and it said how many people are attending. It showed he had checked off his name. So I went, and we were the only two people there. And I said, hey, if it's just you and me and we aren't going to discuss prepping, then there's no sense in me spending this money for this kind of a lunch. And, and the travel and everything else. So I noticed now he's got him and a lady. So there's two of them. But, gosh, I don't know. I would like to have more than just one person. We did have the Belton event happen up in Bell County here just recently. They had a big knife and gun show. And then in February, they have their Mother Earth News show. And that's really great because that's an annual event. You get to meet with all the Amish and Mennonite community. They'll come in and sell a lot of their goods there. So it's Mother Earth Products is a very reputable company, and it really does foster and give you a lot of ideas on things and how to cook things, and they have a lot of great equipment as well. Go to public libraries, community centers. There's all different kinds of places. Don't forget your Chamber of Commerce. There might be people who are interested there. You can it even talks in here about how you can set up your own. So host, and that's the next thing here is after these three pages of things, ideas of what you can do. And each one's only a sentence or two long. Host your own event and how you can choose a suitable venue, determine the format, set a date and time, develop a budget, promote your event, recruiting and coordinating volunteers, planning event logistics, creating a welcoming atmosphere. So, all different kinds of ideas on how you can do it. Travis from what's Travis's? Let me check here real quick. I probably have one of his channels up here already on YouTube. Let me check. So I've got one open right now from the Popular Preparedness. I've got one from um, Prepping with Sarge, Rachel Cooks with Love, and Jill for Today. So what is his name? Travis and The Prepared Homestead. The Prepared Homestead. So The Prepared Homestead has a blog, and you can go on his blog and put in your personal information, and then it will try to find people in a radius around where you are and hook you up with like-minded people. So that's a really great thing as well. You can hook up with local organizations for events. For example, Mira Safety, MIRA Safety. They sell primarily NBC filtration, air filtration systems, masks, and things like that. He also has a fantastic food purifier that basically vibrates any radioactive dust off of the food and puts it into a sediment. So but that's Roman, and he's here locally. So so we could get with him as far as sponsoring an event. Nutrient Survival came to the area. He was up in Georgetown. No, it wasn't Georgetown. It was Andice, I think. Anyhow, he was up there in the northern part of the county, and there's a gun company that he had partnered with, and they did their annual thing, and so that was a big partnership thing. So going to an event like that, knife and gun shows. What do they call those? Where Army Navy stores that they sell things. Hook up and see if there's anybody in there that you might want to hook up with. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can do that. So you can partner with those different organizations and see what they're doing. I was surprised. I went to an office supply company, and I was looking to have the printout of the Latter-day Saints Preparedness Manual and see if they could do the printing for me, and I could get it done at a fairly cheap price. I wanted to be able to have those available for people because the LDS says you can print it for free as long as if you sell it, you only recover the cost of printing. So I'm trying to get it as cheap as possible so that I can give it as a giveaway, basically, or a handout, a inexpensive handout at an event that I'm planning. And while I was there, this guy sells Brita water softener. So here's this office supply company, and they're selling pepper supplies out of their office supply company. So you find things. There's another company here in Round Rock called Spy and Survival Network or something like that. But this guy sells basically things you might want as a private eye, like eavesdropping equipment and cameras and pins that have a camera in it that we can record, and pins that record video and audio. And I mean, he's got all kinds of those, spy type things. That would be another place you might want to go to and see if they have anything that might be of interest for you. Triple G Farms. I've been by your place, your area here 6 times in the last couple of days. We've had a death in our family up in Brownwood. And so I've been driving 183 between Round Rock and Brownwood now, round trip, three round trips so far. And the funeral is going to be Friday. So I'll be on the road again Friday up there and then back. But I think of you every time I drive through Lampasas and I see Storm's Restaurant, I think of you. So just let you know that you are on my mind. So how do you develop a proposal to get with these businesses and say, hey, how can we support each other? How can we mutually support each other? Then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of other places you can look to, like American Red Cross first aid training. If you go to first aid training, you're probably going to find people who have the same interest that you do. Same thing with learning how to be a good neighborhood watch system, or your local fire department, police department, emergency medical services. He's got 4 whole pages of lists of places that you can go to find like-minded people. And then what do you do for follow-up after the event to keep people interested, to generate that interest, to generate their involvement, to follow up and add more to it? one of the biggest problems that I foresee, and it's a problem we have here on YouTube as well, is to me, I discussed a subject a year ago, and I've got people who this is their first time watching me tonight. And so they're going to ask a question that I answered a year ago with a video. And so the question becomes one of, do you redo the video or do you just refer them back to something? Or how do you handle that? How do you service people the best to keep them with a level of interest, to keep them with a level of expertise, to keep them with the knowledge, and want to follow you so that we can help each other out. Those are big questions that you kind of have to worry about. So let's get into chapter 8, the digital age of emergency preparedness. And gosh, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of websites to go to that you can help build your organization, your group from different websites. Now, I am kind of leery of that, and let me tell you why. Uh, so I've tried it. We have a Facebook page here for our neighborhood, and right after Ice Mageddon 1, I put a notice out, said, hey guys, we need to get prepared. What can we do to help each other out in case this ever happens again? What did we learn from it? I put out a 2-page letter that I delivered to every house on these are some of the lessons we learned, some of the things we need to have available to us for next time. Well, when Ice Mageddon 2 happened, only 2 families showed up to that planning meeting, by the way, and out of 120 some odd houses here in this neighborhood, in the subdivision. And so then when Snowmageddon 2 happened, I put the same kind of thing out. Here's some lessons we learned. Here's some of the things we want to consider. Here's what we can do to be prepared for it next time so that nobody suffers. Nobody showed up. So, trying to get the people right here in the neighborhood together is impossible. And we live together. My group that I am active in, well, I'm actually active in about 3. One of them has members as far south as San Antonio and as far north as Temple Belton, as far west as the Highland Lakes, and as far east as College Station. So we've got a very large area, larger than the state of Connecticut, okay, in this one group. And we, get together one Saturday a month, and that's kind of I don't think it's going to, in a real world grid down situation, that's not going to suit our needs. I also belong to a statewide group, and that's even worse because we get together once every 6 months, and and it's more of a planning type of a thing. So what they're doing is they're training us to come back home and then train our local groups so that we have those available to us, which is a great idea. But trying to get those local groups is kind of difficult. I have been going to 3 different farmers markets every single. I kind of have a routine. I go to my favorite gun store. I go to Academy. I go to 3 different farmers markets, and then I was going to the Latter-day Saints, their Provident Living Center, and picking up a can or 2. I want to say once or twice a month. I picked up a little bit more here this last month because I thought it was really going to be the end of the world. And but I'm at the point now to where Helen's not going to let me take over another room, and I just don't have anywhere to put all these cases of food. So, that's so I've run out of space, and Helen's not going to let me have any more space, and so that's it. So until we start eating up some of the stuff we have, I'm probably not going to be buying too much more, which means that my haul videos are not going to be that interesting starting probably this coming Saturday. And then I'm also having to reduce my Thrive Life orders. So I've been a distributor with Thrive Life now since 2009. Back at that time, it was called Shelf Reliance, and they changed their name to Thrive Life. But so I've got 14 years worth of accumulation of at least $100 a month that I've been purchasing. And so I got up to $200 a month here over the course of the last year. That's going to go back down to $100 a month. Just, some of the bare essentials. Now, I did spend a little bit of money, and it'll be here shortly. I used my early delivery of my September order because we had that sale that went on from the 24th through the 28th. And that was 40 and 50% off of certain products. So some of the products that I probably would not have normally gotten, I got because they were simply on sale. And that is more bulk as far as food and everything else for my family and me. So, that's another one is, Thrive Life and places like that where you can meet people who are like you. Go to Nutrient Survival. Follow Nutrient Survival on YouTube. Eric Christensen, who is the CEO, they don't do it quite as regularly now as they used to, but they have been putting out videos. Eric puts out a video probably once a week. They were doing lives and giving away drawings and stuff like that. It's a great way to meet other people in your area, is just hooking up on those lives. Put in when you go to a live like this live, give a general idea of the area where you are. You do the same thing if you follow Jason. What's Jason's? The Angry Truth. If you follow Chris Weatherman, The Angry American, he has great lives. I don't think Steve Smith has done a live yet, but he's got a lot of great videos, and you can kind of just announce, hi from Central Texas or whatever, your type of a general introduction. That way you can kind of hook up with other people who are doing the same thing. Southern Prepper One has great videos on lives. Canadian Prepper, I probably would not do it. Prepper Dog, you can do it there. But, some of these great channels that have lives. David Len Prepper down in Victoria, he's got a great channel. He does a really good job of trying to promote other people as well. So, you could do that and say, hey, I am from, in case there's somebody else from that area. So those are some of the things you want to do. Set up skill sharing and knowledge exchanges, set up collaborative projects and resource building. Let me see. Then he's got a whole bunch of mobile apps that are designed to support different aspects of emergency preparedness. 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of those. And so that's kind of where we are at the end of that chapter, which is the 2 chapters we wanted to talk about this evening. But he's got all kinds of lists of places you can go to for support to help build your organization, help build your prepper community. And, I think that's what's going to be critical. Remember, I've been doing all these shorts about these stone soups or nail soups or whatever you want to call them, where basically you want to have one pot. You're going to put it out there. You're going to, start off with a base, and then you're going to add to it. And then as you add to it, you can feed more and more people. How do you get those people into that at the first place? So one of the things you might want to consider, hello, Happy Hickman Homestead, welcome. Hello, Holly, and Stray Kitten, welcome. So one of the things you might want to start thinking about now is, how do I equitably dispense with food? So I want to bring people in to eat my soups, running a soup kitchen, if you will, for your neighborhood. That's going to get people in. So now, what are some of the things you can do? Well, if we're going to do chicken noodle soup every Friday, okay? So in order for your family to eat, what do you have to do? Well, if you bring in a can of chicken noodle soup concentrate, 12-ounce can, then I will give you back 2 12-ounce cans full of the soup. If you bring in 12 ounces of water, I will give you 6 ounces of soup. If you bring in a small can of chicken, I will double the volume of that chicken with soup. If you bring in a pound of egg noodles, then we will give you 24 ounces of soup. So start thinking now about, what are you going to exchange to put into the soup in order for people to get stuff out of the soup? And some of the things you're going to need are the ingredients for whatever soup is for that day. You're going to need water, clean water. Now, I will not put another person's water, unless it's an unsealed water bottle, if it's still got the seal intact, I will take that. But if it's an opened bottle of water, I'm going to purify that myself. I'm not going to trust other people's purification. I will purify that myself before I put it into the pot. You're going to need charcoal or wood or whatever to keep the fire going, to keep the soup warm. So what's your exchange rate going to be if people bring you firewood or charcoal? And can they eat if they bring that to you just to keep it warm? Because that's something you're going to need. What about if they perform guard duty or serve in a function that you need around your property, and or helping people with the serving and cooking and everything else? Is that labor going to have a value that's worth feeding them some sort of a soup? So start thinking about these things now so that you have it written down and you can share that with people as stuff happens. So one of the things I'm putting on our neighborhood, I'm putting that on our neighborhood Facebook page right now. And, so I want them to start thinking about, hey, it might be worth our while to have some egg noodles. It might be worth our while to have some chicken bouillon, or to have some canned chicken, or a can of carrots, or a can of freeze-dried celery, or, what am I going to do to add to this in order to make a valuable soup? And so think of all the soups you're going to have, when you're going to serve them, and how you can help people with those soups. Looks like I froze. Okay, there we go. My battery was running down. It said low battery. Please plug into a power source. So I did that. Okay, let me get up here and see where we are in the comments, because we're pretty much done with the book, those 2 chapters for tonight. So let me see where we are. Oh, wow. Congratulations, Holly. Holly went prep shopping today. That's great. I don't think they do notices on shorts. I think what they do is they just kind of amalgamate them out there. So, but one of the things you can always do is you can always go to my channel and then go to the video shorts, and you can see all of them there. No, and you are absolutely right, Fexorus, and welcome. By the way, I haven't said welcome to you yet. That's very typical, and we're probably going to see that increase as time goes on. I was talking to somebody. Where was I? I know where it was. When we were up, while the family was going through my sister-in-law's home and finding clothing to bury her in and all that kinds of stuff, I went to the Gold and Silver store there in Brownwood, and I was talking to the people there, about 20 years ago, up until maybe the millennial, we saw the millennial thing start kind of get us started, to where there's a little bit more than 1% of the population interested in prepping. Then we had the Mayan calendar. We had Y2K, Mayan calendar. We've had different things. 9/11, of course, had a little bit of a boost. Then, gosh, we've had different events have caused people to add to that. I would say we're probably up maybe somewhere between 5 and 10% of the population right now is considering or actively thinking about prepping. I'm not going to say that they are actively prepping. I'm saying that they're considering it, at least. So so there's those groups that you might want to consider. There's a joke, and I want to apply this to prepping in a sense, because this is where you are. There's these 2 traveling salesmen. They're driving down the road and they run out of gas, and they're in farm country. And so there's a sign on the fence post, and it says "Warning, Bull." And they look over, and there's this big, ferocious bull. But they also see the farmhouse over there. So the one salesman says, maybe we can get through this farmyard, this yard here, this pasture. We can get some gas from that farmer, and we can continue on. And so he says, yeah, that's not a bad idea. So the guy who says it's not a bad idea goes to the back of the car and starts changing from his dress shoes, because they're both in their business suits, starts changing into tennis shoes. And the guy says, "What are you doing? Do you think you're going to outrun that bull?" He says, "No, I don't have to outrun that bull. I only have to outrun you." So, and that's kind of where we are. You are experts in prepping compared to a lot of the population who has done nothing. So you are far ahead of them. You know far more than they do. You can teach them, you can bring them up to your level, and then you can have a community. Now, you won't know everything. You won't have everything planned out and all that kinds of stuff, but you know, you will be farther ahead than where you are right now. So that I just kind of remember that philosophy. You are better off than most of them. So therefore you are in their eyes an expert. Uh, how many ounces will you get if you bring a stone? It depends on how much content of bullion is in the stone, and so if and whether it's beef or shrimp or chicken. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, I think that's an obligation we have. To be totally honest with you, there, Happy Hickman. Um, See, that's where that other one provides a service, and that's where you need to know your neighbors fairly well before it happens. Like I've got two neighbors over here, a neighbor across the street over here, and this neighbor here. We talk privately, okay? So this neighbor doesn't know I'm talking to the neighbor across the street from her. She doesn't know that I'm talking to the two over here. Nobody knows that I'm talking to other people, but we've all got agreements, okay? So now when something happens, we can all come together and I can vouch for the others. And now we've got a group of people who have an interest in protecting all of us. So, and I went out and bought some GMRS radios so that each family is going to have a GMRS with um, a charging station. So Scott, he and I work together. He's got his solar system with battery backup, and then Nancy has hers. So I know for sure 4 of the 5 houses have solar. 3 of the 5 houses have battery backup. I'm the only one I know of that has a rain catchment system. But we've got things kind of worked out. We're kind of getting this taken care of. The 2 younger guys, yeah, they're going to be fantastic guards. They're going to make fantastic shooters, and start small, add to it, and get the people who are going to be your core that you can trust. One of the things that they don't want to do is they don't want to burn your house down, because that's going to get rid of everything that they want. Don't tell them how much you have. And that's the reason why you have to emphasize the fact that they have to add to it in order to get from it, because you don't have enough to feed everybody. You barely have enough to feed yourself, but it's a way of sharing at the same time. So that's kind of where we are with that. Yes. Hello, I am. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Um, Hope you get something of value from this. So this is the next to the last night that we are doing United We Stand, David Southern Prepper 1, David Kobler's book, and it's co-authored with J.D. Dutra. But we just did the last 2, next to the last 2 chapters there. We got 2 more chapters we're going to talk about next week, and then we're done with that book and we'll start a new one. If you have a suggestion on a nonfiction that is a learning style or a manual style of a preparedness book that you would like to discuss, or you would like to have us discuss, please feel free to send me an email and let me know what you think, which book you would like to discuss. And that's the email is coldwarprepper@outlook.com. And let's see what we can do as far as getting some good books. So far, we've done everything that Selko Begovic has done. We've done everything that Manny Furfal Aguirre has done. We've done way too many. I guess I should put a list on what we have done and then what we can do. Let me see here. Oh no, I have not read. I did not know it was out, so I'll have to get that. I think I showed you. I was on Angry Americans live the other night, and he recommended a book, so I ordered it from Amazon. So I've got it. I'm still working on the Franklin Horton series. I've got this is the one that we'll be doing Thursday night for our fiction book club. So remember, the last Thursday of the month we do our fiction book club. Every Tuesday night we do our nonfiction book club. So we're going to be doing Borrowed World from Franklin Horton Thursday night. I'm reading his volume 2 right now, which is Ashes of the Unspeakable. So I'm pretty much almost done with Ashes of the Unspeakable, which is volume 2 in that series, The Borrowed World. Gosh, it's a great series, learning a lot. It takes place primarily in Virginia along the Appalachian Trail. Loads of great information. And just, I am very impressed with Fortune, with Franklin Horton, with Stephen Smith, and the Stonemont series, Angry American and his series, the Coming Home series. Then you've got so far only one book, but I was very, very impressed with Partisan Operator Journals. Now, this guy has founded an organization called AMRRON, AMRRON, American Radio Relay Operators Network. And he also has the Channel 3 project. So he is getting all these ham operators together so that there can be a backup communications among cities and everything else. And then the Channel 3 project is if you have GMRS, FRS, or CB radio, monitor Channel 3, because we're going to try to do all of our civil defense type communications, community-wise, city-wise, state-wise, everything else on Channel 3 of those 3 transmitting or transceivers. Exactly. That's exactly right. Let me see. New comments. And so, you've got, there are several things that you're going to need. You're going to need people to get water. You're going to need foragers, hunters, fishers. You're going to need, remember, here's something that most urban people, even suburban people, forget, especially since we can go to Kmart or Walmart or someplace like that and pick up a stack of firewood for $7.95, that'll probably last you one night. But if you're going to go out and get your own firewood, you've got to cure that firewood. You don't want to cut firewood today, green, and then use it in your stove tomorrow. It's going to just be nothing but pure smoke. So you want to dry it out for at least 6 months and preferably a year. So that means the firewood you collect today, you'll be burning a year from today. Okay, think of it that way. So that means you're already behind the 8 ball as far as collecting firewood. So you're going to have to get with your neighbors. Somebody's going to have to do the collection of the firewood and the splitting and the cutting and all that kinds of stuff. Water collection, and purification and everything like that. So there's a lot of work that's got to be done. I think I mentioned last week, in intelligence collection, we have what's called a 5-0 staffing for every position, every seat, every intercept seat that we have. Which is why I say I don't think you shouldn't be as paranoid of NSA as most people are, because it takes 5 people to monitor one frequency, okay? Because one person's working days, one person's working swings, one person's working mids, one person's on break, and one person is a fill in case one of those other 3 or 4 is sick or has a doctor's appointment or something like that. So it takes 5 people to monitor one frequency 24 hours a day. So that means you'd have only 1/6 of the country being monitored, while 5/6 of the country is monitoring them. Although, computer sophistication and everything else, probably not that extreme, but it is very manpower intensive. So, same thing with guard duty, and you don't want to have just one person on guard duty. It's best to have 2 people on guard duty. So there's a lot of things that go there. So yes, there's going to be a lot of labor that's going to be required. Exactly. So you want to have your personal network or your friends and neighbors and everything else. And don't betray them. Don't tell them, oh, I'm working with somebody else. Let that happen serendipitously. Some people just don't want other people to know. I mean, they're very, very operation security conscious. So, under siege, in the sense of let me give you my definition of that. My definition of that is something like Red Dawn, where we're going to have, uh, either Russian or Chinese paratroopers or Cuban paratroopers invade the U.S. I never thought that would be possible, simply because I was a Russian intelligence analyst, so I know their military capabilities, and I don't think that would ever happen. However, China has really gotten into a lot of forward deployed bases. So even though they don't have the capabilities with ocean-going troop transports and landing craft, they don't have the capabilities with cross oceanic, transoceanic aircraft to deliver paratroopers. Now that they have bases set up in Venezuela and Costa Rica and Nicaragua and Cuba, now it doesn't require those transoceanic ships or those transoceanic transports anymore. Now they're a lot closer. So the living under siege that I am thinking of now, that's becoming very concerning to me, are the 30,000 military age, well-groomed, clean, good shoes, single, unaccompanied Chinese males who have crossed our southern border over the last 2 years. And then you read the two Chinese colonels from the People's Liberation Army Navy and their book about unrestricted warfare. We're going to have a lot of what I'm going to call Chinese terrorist type activities in the very near future. And that's what scares me. So when you say under siege, right now, my big fear are these 30,000 Chinese agents, let's call them, who are here in the U.S. And we don't really know who they are, where they are, or what they're doing. Yes. And so country living and suburban living and even urban living, I think there's three different things going on there. I definitely would not want to be in a large urban central area. That's going to be just mass chaos, confusion, and pandemonium. Suburban area is going to be a little bit different. I think there'll be a little bit safer, not much, but a little bit. And of course, then the country. Now, when you go to the country, when you're in a rural area, there's advantages. Everything has an advantage and a disadvantage. So in the rural areas, you have an advantage that you are not that obvious of a target for the mass hordes who are right there. But at the same time, you don't have the collection of people coming together to defend you. Now, when you take a look at Angry American, that's kind of a suburban rural. I'm going to call it a rural suburban type of an area. I envision in my mind that we've got these 1 acre plots that each house is on, maybe 1 to 5 acres. When I look at Steve Smith and the Stonemont series, I see that as being primarily a rural type of a thing where he's bringing people in and he's having to create basically a new city to house and take care of these people. So I see that as being, how we can bring people into a rural area and bring them together. William Forstchen, of course, is in the, let's call it the suburbs of kind of a transition between rural and suburbia, small town around the Asheville, North Carolina area. Then you've got, what's his name? Jeff, I forget Jeff's last name. He's writing his series all takes place in Salt Lake City, the Utah area. So they're actually in an urban area. And then you've got a combination with Franklin Horton. So Franklin Horton, different series have got different things. Mad Mick is primarily in a suburban type of an area. Borrowed World is going to be more of I'm going to call it more of that homestead type of a thing, but it's also a lot of travel because people are trying to get home, and how they get home from a catastrophic event. So different books have different situations as well. So making sure you read a lot about that and how to handle those. Let me see. I didn't think Civil War would be, but I think it's becoming more and more a situation. What's really funny is we had we had we had pod training, POD, which is point of dispensing. So we had this big, massive training on what we were going to do if we had to pass out antibiotics, pills, and how we were going to put people through large centers. We would put them through, do the screening background on which medication was probably best for that person, and then get them to the dispensing area and monitoring and everything else. And then we had what we had, and we didn't use what we had. We kind of recreated everything. So you had these cars, going through high school football parking lots and things like that to get the things. And so everything we learned in pod was not used for the mass thing that we had to do. Really strange, but anyhow. So I never really thought that a pandemic would be what it ended up being either. So I did not have really planned for it as much as everybody else. Now, I will say that it just so happened it was in February when we had our annual Belton Mother Earth News Expo. And a guy came up to me and he had cases of flu and pandemic kits. So it had hand sanitizer, N95 masks, nitrile gloves, all this stuff in a kit that he had purchased that was basically beginning to expire from the military. And so I bought a couple cases of, oh, Helen was upset that I spent that much money. We came back down. I was the only person in town that had that equipment, and I was able to sell them. I could have marked them up like you would not believe. I did not. I sold them at, I only had about a 25% markup. Typically, on most of the things I had in my store, I marked them up 100%. But for this one, because I figured it was life-saving, I only marked it up 25%. And I ordered like 8 to 16 cases extra after that because I sold the first 4 cases in a week. Then I ordered 16 more cases, 8, and then another 8. And every time I ordered another 8, the price doubled. So I was paying at the end unbelievable prices from the supplier for the equipment. And then the county, the EMS and everything else, they did not have anything. So I basically sold them what I had purchased. That last 8 cases, I sold it to them at cost. I didn't make any money at all because I think that having those EMS people taken care of was more important. But let me see where we are here. There is weed soup. There are people who have eaten weed soup, so that's not too stray. So sometimes I question myself: Am I being rational or reasonable in my thinking about this? Lord knows. All we can do is hope and pray. Hello, Pete. Welcome. No, you're fine. You're fine. And thank you for your morning talk. So when I get up in the morning, I do my prayers, and then I'm doing Catechism in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz right now. So it just so happens that the way things work out, after my cup of coffee, after my morning prayers, and after I do my Catechism in a Year, that's when you come on live with your morning commute. So thank you. You're adding to that great habit that I'm getting into of following good stuff on a regular basis. So, Little Lone Prepper, would you do me a favor and make sure we get Roaming Prepper's website, or I'm sorry, his channel listed here for everybody to see, because that's another one of those channels I really, really want to recommend. Let me see. Let me see where we, thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. So here's a great channel. Pete has been doing some really good stuff. There was a live I just started to watch of his that I'm going to watch the replay of because I've been kind of away from everything here for the past couple of days. I apologize for how hectic things are going to be and how scattered I'm going to be. You probably, since I'm doing since I'll be doing the funeral, I will probably be getting rid of the vast majority of my beard and trying to look more like a minister than what I do with my beard. So you may see a different look here in the near future. I'm not sure how much of it I'll whack off for Friday, but I may have a different appearance the next time you see me. Yeah, Prepping with Sarge he is a licensed mental health professional. He's a fantastic person. Absolutely love his channel as well. As a matter of fact, I was just watching him before this, and the name of the video that I watched just before we came onto our live was when the CDC got it wrong, and he was talking about they did this big promotion during a time when there were a whole bunch of zombie type movies that were coming out. And if you're preparing for the zombie apocalypse, here are some things you might want to consider. And so he said, did them using or jumping onto the bandwagon with the zombie apocalypse and saying prepare for it with these things, did that discredit them as far as getting people ready and prepared for whatever you want to do? Let me see where we are. Okay. When I prep for shop for press, I make sure I get a little something to enjoy. Now, even if it's just a candy bar, favorite snack. Yes, and so here's the thing. Um, One of the things that we have to do is we have to understand that we're preparing for a life after an event, whatever that event is, whatever event you choose, or mega events or multiple events, or I don't know what you're planning on. It seems like there's so many that I do things differently. So, for example, I'm probably one of the only people you're going to run into that has a Geiger counter in his everyday carry bag, and I carry that with me everywhere I go because remember, I got into prepping because of the 1963 Cuban Missile Crisis. So I'm a child of, ducking cover and school and practicing for bombing and everything else. So that's my background is I am in that nuclear genre more so than anything else. I have kind of gotten as a result of 2008 and a couple other events. I'm also becoming more and more aware of the economic downturn of our country. Um, there's so many things, and now of course the product of the late 60s and the early 70s and the race riots and the civil disorder that we had then. I think that's coming to a head again. So there's so many different things. So how do you withdraw from that and be peaceful and be thankful and reward yourself that you are here? If you're doing everything prepping, you're going to drive yourself into a nut ward. You can't. You've got to put some limits on it. You've got to put some things in yourself. So, I have a rule that for every hour I do prepping, I have to do some other thing enjoyable. So, to me, right now, when I get up, I do the catechism in a year or the Bible in a year. Either one is taking between 20 and 30 minutes. Then the rosary takes 25 minutes. There's 45 minutes. The chaplet of the Divine Mercy takes 15 minutes. There's an hour just in religion right there every single day. Then I have some, what do they call them? I'm forgetting the technical term, but it's books about how to read and understand a book of the Bible. So right now I'm working on the book of Mark, um, uh, by Mary Healy. And so, I'm spending a lot of time there as well, just trying to keep my mind straight and away from the threats and everything else that we see on prepping. I don't watch the news anymore. I don't watch any television news whatsoever. Um, I get most of my news from Prepper Dog, or and then on the radio, I either listen to the oldies station or I listen to Catholic Talk Radio, EWTN, and then I also listen to what's it called, Revenant News, and so those are some of the things that I do to try to keep my mind from going into this apocalyptic state where everything is blinders and nothing but prepping. I have family, I have friends, I have things that need to be done. So trying to stay that way. And I was telling Helen the other night. I think that the 15th planet beyond the 32nd sun in the 15th universe out there is directing an insanity beam at Earth. And we no longer are kind, polite, and respectful to each other. We don't give the other people a break. We don't treat each other with respect, and we don't act with humility. We act with such arrogance and conceit and self-centeredness. we we're looking for contention instead of agreement in way too many of our things that we're doing. Our politics are too diametrically opposed instead of too centrified. And what instead of looking at what we can accomplish together, we're focusing on what we can do to oppose the other person. I want to be a unifier. I'm tired of the division. I'm tired of the contention. What can we do to come together to help each other? And so that's going to get me killed. I don't know. But that's what I want to do. I want to focus on the good. What can we do for the good of the people? So that's kind of where I am. Let me see, Stray Kitten. What a great idea. So one of the new things that I learned, there's a lady at the church who makes rosaries. And so I learned how to get the crimping tool and the beads and the chain and everything else, and how to make rosaries. So that I can do that in a couple seconds. And then I'm also very active with St. Vincent de Paul. So I go out and help people who are in great need. And that's another one of those things that helps me with my sanity, is helping other people and knowing that I'm adding value to mankind. Matthew Malloy, welcome. And sorry you have to leave, but welcome. I'm sorry I didn't give you an earlier welcome. I don't recognize that I've seen your name before, but thank you for being here. We greatly appreciate you. Let me see. Okay, so that's pretty much where we are. Anybody? We're under right at an hour too. So, any questions, concerns, or anything else, and any recommendations as far as books? Like I said, there's a couple that I'm really considering. Number one is Situational Awareness, and I forget the author's name. So far, it looks like a good book. I would like to get into it. I've got another one that I need to get read, and it looks very good as well. But I'm not so sure what that has to do with prepping. Spetsnaz: Inside the History of the Soviet Special Forces. So I'm not sure that would help us that much with prepping. It looks like an interesting book, but we'll see. But I think that situational awareness right now is one that really has my attention. So I'm thinking about that. That's probably what I'll announce next week. Yes, and I don't know if you noticed it, but over the last 3 to 4 years, I don't know whether it's because of my age or whether it's a new thing that's done for everybody, but every time I have a doctor's appointment, they ask me, "Do you feel safe at home?" And I'll tell them, "I don't feel safe anywhere, not under this administration." So they don't laugh. They don't think that's funny. But anyhow, that's the way it is. Okay, so Numbers chapter 6, verses 24, 25, and 26. And the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other. Do me a favor. This week, one person's going to try to cut you off in traffic. Let them do it and smile. Give somebody a break. Let them get into traffic. Somebody's in a bad mood. Give them a smile. Somebody, do something warm. Do something to ingratiate people. Do something to make people know that there are good people in this world who want to make it better, and you are one of those people. So what can you do to make this world a better place for the next week until we get together? Pay it forward. Do something nice, just serendipitously, just unexpectedly. Do something nice for somebody. I took Helen's car to the shop today. It was supposed to take half an hour. It ended up taking 4 hours. There was a lady there with a kid, 2-year-old kid, and the kid started throwing a fit. So I started doing this to him, and I said, and I went, "Oh, I'm going to get you, and the only person who can save you is your mommy." And so he didn't react the way I expected him to. I expected him to run to his mommy. No, he threw his arms up. He wanted me to pick him up. So I picked him up. He got on my shoulder. He cried on my shoulder, and then he cried himself to sleep. And just, he felt comfortable in my arms. And then once he was asleep, I gave him to his mom. She says, "You're a miracle worker. I don't know what you did." And I said, "I don't either." But, so that made her day a little bit better. So what can you do to make somebody's day just a little bit better? What can you do to be that light on the hill that shines and gives love and charity and the embrace? So remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. Thank you for your understanding about the family situation we currently have ongoing. The funeral is set for Friday. The viewing is at 1 o'clock. The funeral itself will be at 2 o'clock. And then the graveside will be at 4 o'clock, because it's way out in the country where the family plots are. So Friday I will be totally involved and totally with the funeral, and so I beg your indulgence with that. And hopefully we'll be back on track, maybe for a Saturday haul. I don't know. If I get my Thrive Life order in, then we'll have the haul. Okay, everybody, great to see you. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful week. Remember, do something nice to somebody unexpectedly today, tomorrow, sometime this week. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.